It's depressing how many remade or remastered games I can now claim to have originally played over 3 decades ago. Many retro-inspired games have moved on from pixel art to target the look and feel of early 3D games from the late 90s on PC or 32-bit consoles, the era that cemented my love of gaming as a lifetime hobby. Amerzone, The Explorer's Legacy, the 2025 edition, is one such remake, an updated, expanded and lavish overhaul of a 1999 point-and-click adventure, known primarily for its association with the Belgian artist Benoît Sokal, who created many of the creature designs and backdrops before going on to work on the more recognisable Syberia games. This remake takes the classic first-person point-and-click structure and converts those weirdly proportioned 360-degree panoramas into beautiful and detailed 3D environments. There's no free movement, but abrupt screen transitions and an over-reliance on short cutscenes are replaced with slick in-game animations for set pieces, transitions, interactions, and puzzle devices. You could argue the updated visuals don't always capture the bleak atmosphere of the original, but when combined with an expanded soundtrack, new voice work, and more narration, it makes for a cohesive and cinematic adventure, with production values closer to what you'd expect from a modern release. It's not just the audio-visual experience that's been overhauled. A lot of work has gone into expanding and enhancing every location, while still retaining the basic layout, significant landmarks, artistic designs, and all the original notebook sketches. The unnamed protagonist also gains more agency and personality through their journal entries that, in turn, flesh out secondary narratives only briefly touched upon in the original. That said, the point-and-click core remains unchanged, and almost all the original puzzles return in some form, albeit often just one part of an expanded design that now requires a few more steps and some QTE-like inputs. You're still exploring compact but detailed locations on the hunt for documents, puzzles, key items and clues, typically to find fuel or data disks to power the incredible transforming Hydrofloat craft. Puzzles are still designed around using key items on puzzle objects or the environment, but you must often figure out the correct sequence of actions, even if you have all the items on hand. It retains that classic and increasingly niche design, in which more involved and convoluted puzzles are your reward for making progress. No matter how dangerous or desperate the scenario may seem, Amerzone, The Explorer's Legacy has no time limits, and the world might as well be frozen as you plod around each area and figure out the route forward. For those who've grown up with games that hold your hand to the point of feeling patronizing, Amerzone can feel a little too unguided at first, dropping you into dense environments with no HUD and no quest log in the corner. Some purists might argue that was integral to immersing yourself in the game world, but the remake expands the journal feature considerably. It offers an improved interface for collected items and notes. You can fast travel between significant locations once you've found a map of the area, and you can enable several player assists. By default, the journal tracks core tasks and highlights secondary stories if you found any associated documents or environmental clues. You can also enable hotspot highlights at the press of a button and a tiered hint system, all of which make it easier to maintain pacing and ensure you reach the end of Amerzone, The Explorer's Legacy, without hitting roadblocks, essential in an age of diminished attention spans, especially for a niche genre with dated gameplay that only holds up when paired with a strong narrative hook. You need to be invested in the fate of the young reporter, looking to make a name for themselves by undoing the shameful legacy of the dying explorer Valembois. You need to be curious about the fate of his former companions and the dark history of the now isolationist Amerzone nation. You need to understand the reporter's drive to push ever further upriver, consequences be damned, to see if Valembois' descriptions of bizarre creatures and ecosystems are accurate, or deserving of the ridicule that drove him into seclusion. The updated journal in this remake improves the storytelling, while also allowing the game to dig deeper into themes of traditional societies living in harmony with nature, the impact of colonialism on native cultures, and the rise of post-colonial autocracies, with leaders that twist foreign governance concepts to their own needs. Having a transparent list of notes and chapter locations assigned to each side story could be a double-edged sword for completionists that won't move on before they've found everything. But your reward for finding them all is a short summary of events from the protagonist, befitting their profession. It's a smart way to literally gather the player's thoughts and deliver exposition before they set off to the next act. The best thing I can say about Amerzone, the Explorer's Legacy remake, is that I never expected to enjoy it so much. It's longer and more complex than the original, but it's still a brisk experience by modern standards, and it doesn't ask more of you than it gives back. It provided plenty of exciting spectacle, but moved at my own pace, making for a pleasant change from the high-stress, action-oriented titles that make up the bulk of my gaming diet. The gameplay is classic and inherently dated, even with a few updated mechanics and assists, but the audio-visual overhaul make it feel like a grand adventure the original creators could only dream of. It's a niche genre now, but for fans, this is about as good as it gets if you're looking for a remake that respects the original, but expands and enhances every aspect of it.
If you've got this far, please consider giving the video a like and maybe subscribing to our channel, as it helps us grow.